My sister stood in my parents' living room, looked me up and down, and said, "You're never going to amount to anything. You're a failure, and everyone knows it." My parents said nothing. My brother-in-law smirked. I stood there, humiliated, trying not to cry in front of everyone. 6 months later, I invited my entire family to a housewarming party. When my sister walked through the door and saw where I was living, she froze. Her face went pale. Her mouth dropped open. And when I handed her the deed showing I'd paid for the house in cash, she nearly collapsed. My name is Emma Reyes, and I'm 28 years old. I live in Tampa, Florida. For most of my life, I've been the black sheep of my family. My older sister, Victoria, is 32. She's everything my parents ever wanted in a daughter. She went to an Ivy League school. She married a successful investment banker. She lives in a McMansion in a gated community. She drives a Mercedes. She's perfect. At least, that's what my parents think. I took a different path. I didn't go to a fancy college. I went to community college, then transferred to a state school. I studied graphic design and marketing. I graduated with minimal debt and started working freelance. My parents were disappointed. "Why couldn't you be more like Victoria?" my mom would say. "She has a real career. You're just doing your own thing." My own thing meant building a business from scratch. It meant working 18-hour days. It meant sacrificing social life, sleep, and stability to chase a dream. But my parents didn't see it that way. They saw me as the daughter who didn't live up to expectations. Victoria made sure everyone knew it. At every family gathering, Victoria found ways to remind me of my place. "How's the freelancing going, Emma?" "Still living paycheck to paycheck," she'd ask, her tone dripping with false concern. Or, "I saw your Instagram. You're still in that tiny apartment? When are you going to get a real place?" Or, "Mom, did you see the bonus James got? We're thinking about buying a vacation home. Emma, you should visit us sometime. If you can afford the flight." Every single time. My parents never corrected her. They'd just nod along, like her comments were observations instead of insults. I tried to ignore it. I tried to focus on my work. But it hurt. Deeply. Because while Victoria was flaunting her lifestyle, I was building something real. Something that would change my life forever. I just couldn't tell anyone yet. 3 years ago, I started a digital marketing agency. It was just me at first, designing websites, managing social media, running ad campaigns for small businesses. It was hard. I worked from my tiny apartment, surviving on instant noodles and coffee, taking every client I could get. But slowly, things started to grow. I hired a contractor, then another, then a full-time employee. My client list expanded. My revenue increased. 2 years ago, I landed a major client, a national retail chain that needed a complete digital overhaul. The contract was worth $200,000. I didn't tell my family. I didn't tell anyone. I just kept working. Last year, my agency hit $1 million in revenue. I had a team of 12 people. I had corporate clients. I had stability. And I had enough money saved to do something I'd been dreaming about for years. I bought a house. Not just any house. A beautiful, custom-built home in a desirable neighborhood. 4 bedrooms. 3 bathrooms. A pool. A 2-car garage. And I paid for it in cash. Every single dollar came from my business. No mortgage. No debt. Just pure, hard-earned success. I didn't tell my family about the house. Not yet. Because I wanted to see their faces when they realized the failure they'd been mocking for years had surpassed them all. The breaking point came at Thanksgiving. My entire family gathered at my parents' house, my mom, my dad, Victoria, her husband James, and my younger brother, Luke. Dinner was the usual affair. Victoria dominated the conversation, talking about her latest vacation, her new car, her husband's promotion. "James is being considered for senior partner," Victoria announced. "We're talking about a salary in the high 6 figures. That's wonderful, honey, my mom said, beaming. What about you, Emma? Victoria asked, turning to me. How's the freelancing? It's good, I said. Still working from that tiny apartment? For now, I said. Victoria laughed. You know, Emma, at some point, you need to think about your future. You can't freelance forever. You need stability. A real job. A real career. I have a career, I said quietly. Do you? Victoria said, her tone condescending. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're just scraping by. You're almost 30 and you have nothing to show for it. Victoria, that's enough, Luke said. I'm just being honest, Victoria said. Someone needs to tell her the truth. Emma, you're never going to amount to anything if you keep doing what you're doing. You're a failure. And everyone at this table knows it. The room went silent. My mom looked uncomfortable. My dad stared at his plate. James smirked. Luke looked furious. And me? I stood up, grabbed my coat, and left. I drove home in tears. But by the time I got to my apartment, the tears had turned into determination. Victoria wanted to call me a failure? Fine. I was going to show her exactly what I'd accomplished. And I was going to do it in a way she'd never forget. I'd already been planning to host a housewarming party. I'd moved into my new house 2 weeks earlier, but hadn't told my family yet. Now, I was going to invite them. All of them. I sent out invitations the next day. A formal card with my new address. You're cordially invited to Emma's housewarming party. Please join us to celebrate new beginnings. My mom called immediately. Emma, you moved? Why didn't you tell us? I wanted it to be a surprise, I said. Where's the new place? You'll see at the party. Victoria texted me. Nice address. Did you finally upgrade from that shoebox apartment? Let me guess, a 2-bedroom rental. I didn't respond. I just smiled. The day of the party arrived. I hired a catering company. I decorated the house. I made sure everything looked perfect. My business partner, Jenna, helped me set up. Are you sure about this? She asked. This feels like it's going to be intense. I'm sure, I said. Victoria's been humiliating me for years. It's time she learned the truth. Just don't let her ruin your moment, Jenna said. She won't, I promised. My family arrived at noon. I watched from the window as they pulled up. My parents drove together. Victoria and James pulled up in their Mercedes. Luke came separately. They all stood on the driveway for a moment, staring at the house. I opened the front door and smiled. Welcome. My mom's eyes were wide. Emma, is this yours? Come inside, I said. They walked in slowly, looking around like they'd entered a dream. The high ceilings. The modern furniture. The open floor plan. The backyard with the pool. Victoria's face was frozen in shock. This is beautiful, my mom said, her voice trembling. But Emma, how did you afford this? I bought it, I said simply. With what? Victoria asked, her tone sharp. A loan? A mortgage? No, I said. I paid cash. The room went silent. Cash, my dad repeated. Emma, what are you talking about? I walked over to the dining table where I'd placed a folder. I opened it and pulled out the deed to the house. This is the deed, I said, handing it to my dad. As you can see, the house is fully paid off. No mortgage. No loans. I own it outright. My dad stared at the document, his mouth open. This says the purchase price was $750,000. That's correct, I said. How? My mom whispered. My business, I said. The freelancing you all dismissed? It's a digital marketing agency. Last year, we hit $1 million in revenue. I've been saving and investing for 3 years. And now I own this house. Victoria's face had gone from shock to something darker. Anger. Jealousy. Disbelief. That's impossible, she said. You're lying. I'm not, I said calmly. I pulled out more documents. Tax returns. Bank statements. Business contracts. Here's my company's financial statement, I said, laying it on the table. Here are my tax returns showing my income. Here's the bank transfer receipt for the house purchase. It's all real, Victoria. My brother Luke started laughing. Holy shit, Emma. You're a millionaire. Not quite, I said. But I'm doing well. Victoria grabbed the documents and flipped through them, her hands shaking. This doesn't make sense. You live in a tiny apartment. You drive an old car. I was being smart, I said. I was saving, investing, building something real. While you were spending every dollar you made on cars and vacations and keeping up appearances, I was building wealth. Real wealth. Not the kind that looks good on Instagram. The kind that actually matters. Victoria's face turned red. You think you're better than me? No, I said. But I'm not worse than you either. And I'm tired of being treated like I am. Emma, we didn't mean, my mom started. Yes, you did, I said, my voice firm. You've been treating me like a failure for years. You've let Victoria insult me at every family gathering. You've dismissed my career, my choices, my life. And you never once asked how I was actually doing. We thought you were struggling, my dad said weakly. I was struggling, I said. I was working 18-hour days. I was sacrificing everything to build something. But you never saw that. You just saw someone who didn't fit your definition of success. I turned to Victoria. And you? You've spent years tearing me down to make yourself feel superior. You called me a failure at Thanksgiving. In front of everyone. I was just. You were cruel, I said. You were vindictive. And you did it because you needed me to be beneath you. Victoria opened her mouth to respond, but nothing came out. But here's the truth, I continued. I'm not beneath you. I never was. I just took a different path. And my path led here. I gestured around the house. What about yours? Victoria's face crumpled. For the first time in my life, I saw her look genuinely hurt. James stepped forward. Emma, I think you're being unfair. Victoria's accomplished a lot. Has she? I asked. Or has she just married someone who's accomplished a lot? James's face darkened. How much of your lifestyle is actually yours? I asked Victoria. How much of it is James's salary? How much of it is debt? Because I know you refinanced your house twice. I know you lease your cars. I know your lifestyle costs more than you make. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. How do you know that? Because I pay attention, I said. I've always paid attention. And I know the difference between looking successful and actually being successful. The room was silent. My parents looked devastated. Luke looked proud. James looked furious. And Victoria looked destroyed. I didn't invite you here to humiliate you, I said, my voice softening. I invited you here because I wanted you to see the truth. I wanted you to understand that I'm not a failure. I never was. I was just building something quietly while you were busy being loud. Victoria grabbed her purse. I can't be here. Victoria, wait, my mom said. But Victoria was already walking toward the door. James followed her. They left without another word. After they left, the rest of us stood in awkward silence. My mom came over and hugged me. I'm so sorry, Emma. I didn't realize how much we'd hurt you. I know, I said. We're proud of you, my dad said, his voice thick with emotion. We should have said it years ago. But we're proud of you. Luke hugged me next. That was the most badass thing I've ever seen. I laughed through my tears. Thanks. Seriously, he said. Victoria needed to hear that. We all did. The party continued. Friends and colleagues arrived. We ate. We drank. We celebrated. But I couldn't stop thinking about Victoria's face when she left. Part of me felt guilty. Part of me felt vindicated. But mostly, I just felt free. It's been 3 months since the housewarming party. 3 months since I confronted Victoria. 3 months since everything changed. Victoria and I haven't spoken. She's avoided every family gathering. My parents say she's processing things. I don't know if we'll ever repair our relationship. Part of me wants to. Part of me doesn't. Because for years, Victoria made me feel small. She made me feel like I wasn't good enough. And I internalized that. I believed it. But I'm done believing it. My relationship with my parents has improved dramatically. They've started asking about my business. They've visited my house multiple times. They've apologized repeatedly for not supporting me sooner. We were wrong, my mom said last week. We let Victoria's success define what success should look like. And we didn't see that you were succeeding in your own way. I appreciate that, I said. We're going to do better, my dad promised. And they have. They've been more present, more interested, more supportive than they've been in years. Luke and I are closer than ever. He started his own business, and I've been helping him with marketing strategy. You inspired me, he told me. Seeing you succeed on your own terms made me realize I could too. That meant more to me than any house or bank account ever could. A few weeks ago, I got a text from Victoria. Can we talk? I stared at the message for a long time before responding. Sure. We met at a coffee shop halfway between our houses. She looked tired. Smaller somehow. I'm sorry, she said as soon as I sat down. For what? I asked. For everything. For the way I treated you. For the things I said. For making you feel like you weren't good enough. I didn't say anything. I just waited. I was jealous, Victoria continued. I know that sounds crazy. But I was. You were always so confident in your choices. You didn't care what anyone thought. You just did what you wanted. And I hated that. Why? I asked. Because I've spent my entire life trying to meet everyone's expectations, she said. I went to the right school. I married the right person. I bought the right house. I did everything I was supposed to do. And I was miserable. She looked up at me, tears in her eyes. And then I saw you. Living in a tiny apartment. Driving an old car. Working all the time. And you were happy. You were building something you loved. And I couldn't stand it. So you tried to tear me down, I said. Yes, she admitted. I did. And I'm sorry. I took a sip of my coffee, processing her words. Are you happy now? No, she said quietly. James and I are having problems. We've been living beyond our means for years. We're drowning in debt. And I don't even like my job. I just do it because it looks good. Then change it, I said. It's not that easy. Yes, it is, I said. You just have to be willing to let go of what people think. Victoria looked at me, searching my face. How did you do it? How did you build all of this? I stopped caring about appearances, I said. I stopped trying to impress people. I focused on what mattered to me. And I worked harder than I've ever worked in my life. I don't know if I can do that, Victoria said. Then you'll stay miserable, I said bluntly. It's your choice. We talked for another hour. It wasn't a magical reconciliation. But it was a start. When I left the coffee shop, I felt lighter. Not because Victoria had apologized, but because I realized I didn't need her apology to move forward. I'd already moved forward. I'd already proven myself. I'd already built the life I wanted. Her validation was no longer necessary. Over the past few months, I've learned something important about success. It's not about having the biggest house or the fanciest car or the most impressive title. It's about building something you're proud of. Something that aligns with your values. Something that makes you feel fulfilled. For years, I thought I needed my family's approval. I thought I needed to prove I was as good as Victoria. But I was never in competition with Victoria. I was only ever in competition with myself. And I won. My business is still growing. We've expanded into new markets. We've hired more employees. We've doubled our revenue from last year. But more importantly, I love what I do. I love the clients I work with. I love the team I've built. I love the life I've created. And I did it all on my own terms. Last week, I got a message from a young woman who follows me on social media. She said she'd seen my story, how I'd built my business from nothing, how I'd bought a house with cash, how I'd proved everyone wrong. You inspired me to start my own business, she wrote. I've been too scared to leave my corporate job. But seeing what you accomplished made me realize it's possible. Thank you. I read that message 5 times. And I realized that's the real success. Not the house, not the money, but the ability to inspire others to believe in themselves. That's what makes it all worth it. If you're reading this and you've ever been called a failure, underestimated, or dismissed, know this. Other people's opinions of you don't define your worth. Your path doesn't have to look like anyone else's. Your timeline doesn't have to match theirs. Your version of success doesn't have to meet their expectations. You just have to stay true to yourself. Work hard. Stay focused. And trust the process. For years, I let my family's disappointment weigh on me. I let Victoria's insults make me feel small. I let their definition of success make me question my own path. But I kept going. I kept building. I kept believing in what I was doing. And eventually, the results spoke for themselves. Victoria called me yesterday. "I'm leaving James," she said. "And I'm going back to school. I want to do something I actually care about." "That's brave," I said. "I learned it from you," she replied. "Maybe our relationship will heal. Maybe it won't. But that's okay. Because I don't need her approval anymore. I don't need anyone's approval. I have everything I need. A business I love. A home I'm proud of. A life I built on my own terms. And that's more than enough." So to everyone who's been told they're not good enough, not smart enough, not capable enough, keep going. Your moment is coming. And when it does, it'll be worth every second of doubt you pushed through. Don't let anyone's limited vision of your potential become your reality. Build your dream. Prove them wrong. And never apologize for your success. If this story resonated with you, drop a comment below. Share your experiences. Let's support each other. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about perseverance, success, and proving the doubters wrong. Thanks for listening.